You're listening to WTIM, your information station. It's time now for your expanded local news. Payments from state agencies, the Manners Park Pool, and more are on the agenda for the Taylorville Park Board of Trustees monthly meeting tonight. And as always, it will take place at 7 p.m. in the Manners Park Dining Hall. The payment topic relates to the Illinois Comptroller and will be covered in new business. The Comptroller's office allows entities receiving payments from them to do so by direct deposit, which is expected to be the topic of discussion. Also in new business, the board will hear and discuss the election of an executive trustee for the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, of which the Park District is a member of. In old business, the board will present the latest on the Manners Park pool construction efforts. This comes a week after they formally selected Landmark Aquatic to handle the design and build of the new pool space. The board will also cover the tax levy ordinance for the coming fiscal year, along with a financial statement booklet. As is customary before new and old business, the board will hear the treasurer's report. After the business sections, the maintenance superintendent, recreation director, and office administrator will all make their reports. Stay tuned to regional radio news for updates following tonight's meeting. Two well-known community banks are joining forces. HBT Financial, the Bloomington-based parent company of Heartland Bank and Trust, has announced a merger with Carlinville-based C&B Bank Shares, which operates C&B Bank and Trust locations across Illinois, eastern Iowa, and Missouri, including right here in Taylorville. The deal, valued at around $170 million, will create a combined company with nearly $7 billion in assets and 84 branches across the region. Both banks say the merger will strengthen their community banking focus while expanding services and resources for their customers. The transaction still needs approval from shareholders and regulators, but it is expected to close in the first quarter of 2026. When completed, C&B Bank and Trust locations, including the Taylorville branch, will become part of the Heartland Bank and Trust financial umbrella. The Christian County Sheriff's Office is staying on top of hunting activity as the season progresses, but keeping some information and tips top of mind as well when it comes to this Halloween season. The CCSO has reported a fairly standard month of activity in September, as that trend continues into October with just one exception: vehicle break-ins. Jim Baker, Chief Deputy of the Christian County Sheriff's Office, wants the community to remain vigilant when it comes to locking their vehicles at night to prevent these types of crimes. Baker is also looking to continue their healthy relationship with the IDNR. Conservation Police Officer Brody Snyder serves as a vital resource to the Sheriff's Office. Snyder is often called upon all across the area, so it's important to note the Christian County Sheriff's Office role in dealing with trespassers this hunting season.
To stay safe and legal, and wanted to throw some things out there to be prepared. So just recently, we work in collaboration with the IDNR and our local game warden. And recently I sat down and met with Brody Snyder, who's a CPO or conservation police officer, and he provided me some information that had been inquired upon and some things that we've been dealing with when it comes to hunting. And Sheriff's Office, we handle rural calls. The CPO has a large region, multi-county. And so in his absence, there's times where we'll be involved with that. Just recently, we've had some calls for trespassing where, I might give you permission to hunt on my property. You get your lines crossed, go on the wrong property, and then somebody's going down there, confront them with a firearm, and it just sets that up for a bad situation. You got two people that are hunting. Right now it's archery season, but you get into bow and gun seasons. You got, what you want to do is, if you have that, I remind people make mistakes. 90% of the time it's unintentional. If you get that trespasser, call the sheriff's office, let them handle it. That's why we work in collaboration with the DNR to handle things like that. Or if he's got a poaching situation, we might intervene until he gets there. But there again, call the sheriff's office if you see something. If you've got an issue, let us handle it.
And with Halloween in just a few weeks, Baker shares some helpful information for parents on keeping their child safe amidst all that trick-or-treating fun.
Some of it's common sense that may be overlooked, but we want to choose some good costumes that aren't causing things to where it fits them properly. It's not a fall issue to where they're tripping over it. Want to wear reflective clothing. I always suggest that they wear some type of glow stick or a headlamp for visibility. One of the things that they suggest is using face paint instead of masks so it doesn't block their vision. You want to talk to the kids about walking safely around the areas through using traffic signals or crosswalks or intersections instead of running out across the roadway. And basically, obviously, adult supervision with the younger ones. And if not, put them in a group. One of the big things is make sure you know what they were wearing, what route, maybe what area they're going to be walking in. So that way, if they don't return, we've got a starting point. They always, the recommendations of checking the candy, having them not eat the candy until they get home. And especially, things that are homemade goods, stuff like that. They really want to know where it's coming from.
The community has to play their part in our children's safety as well. Home and pet owners and those driving on Halloween night are asked to take an extra moment to think safety first.
For those out on the street at the end of the month, don't forget that you've got to slow down, be alert. There's going to be kids that are so excited they're not paying attention to traffic. That goes without saying. And just be careful leaving your driveway, driving around at night. One of the big things for homeowners, if you're going to have your porch light on, you stop and take a look around. Are your garden hoses put away, toys, the lawn furniture on the porch, maybe remove it for the night so that way you don't get a multitude of kids up there and tripping and falling. Something to think about your pets. It gives them anxiety, the doorbell ringing and stuff like that going on. Or even if you're letting your kids out, normally if you just open the door and the dog goes out in the yard, keep in mind that at the end of the month there, you're going to have kids out in the front yard.
As mentioned, it was another busy but far from unusual month of activity for the CCSO in September. Baker calls again for vehicle owners to lock their cars and if they see something, to say something.
On track record for September, we had 27 generated reports compared to the previous month of 33. 4 criminal arrests. Those would be major criminals, domestics, violations, OPs, things like that. The major traffic arrests were up by a couple. We had 6 major traffic arrests, which are typically your reckless driving, suspended, revoked drivers. About an average for paper service. We serve 69 civil paper services, 42 location checks, with 2 of those being vacation patrol requests that they had submitted on the app to have their residents checked while they were out of town. 27 vehicle crashes compared to 21. Those vehicle crashes are anticipated to continue to go up with the movement of the deer and things like that. More implements on the road, all kind of factors. We had 1 narcotics arrest, and I believe we posted 2 road closures on the app last month, and it's been a busy month already with notifications and things going on with the app and stuff like that. Additionally, I just want to mention, as we wrap up last month, we're seeing a huge rash of break-ins inside of vehicles. If you have the app, you would have seen through the Crime Stoppers that we had several vehicles hit. Once again, I want to stress to people, make sure you lock your vehicles and don't have your valuables in there.
Find out more information on the Christian County Sheriff's Office by visiting them at their Facebook page. And for real-time updates, you can also download the Christian County Sheriff IL app on your mobile device. For questions or concerns had about this hunting season, Brody Snyder is available at 217-685-2464. Jim Baker appeared as a guest on the WTIM Morning Show. This will conclude the first portion of your expanded local news, and it's brought to you by Taylorville Community Credit Union.
Looking to save more and stress less? This is Will Perkins. At Taylorville Community Credit Union, we're here to help you build a stronger financial future with great loan and deposit rates, convenient locations, and service from people you know and trust. We're member-owned, member-focused, and proud to serve anyone who lives or works in Christian, Montgomery, or Shelby counties. Discover the credit union difference. TCCU is your partner in financial success. Member NCUA.
Heartland CASA has made major strides in bringing their services to the Christian County area, but they need advocates within the community to also show their support. Now covering 4 counties and a caseload of over 500 children, the staff is looking to raise awareness about supporting their cause. Heartland CASA advocates are not foster care parents. Rather, they are a voice and face of consistency for that child as they make their way through the court system with hopes of finding their forever home. Blaine Smith is the executive director for Heartland CASA and discusses what the organization is and the expansion of their operations.
So Heartland CASA, we are a nonprofit agency. We started in 1998 in Macon County and have expanded into Moultrie, Christian, DeWitt, and Macon. And we are court-appointed special advocates that are assigned through the court and the judge in a foster care case to be an advocate for best interest of the child that has come into care. And we base that on teaching volunteers in the community to advocate for the children in their community. And we are there to walk step by step next to them like they do for the children that they serve. The expansion of CASA is necessary, I think, for every county in Illinois, across the nation. I believe every child that comes into care deserves to have a CASA. They need somebody in their lives who's going to advocate and be consistent for them. When you come into care as a child, there is so much trauma that even comes with that. The removal from your home, whether it was safe or not, is still a trauma for that child. So to have a person from the beginning to the end of their journey that is consistent.
Lori McDaniel is recruitment and retention manager with Heartland CASA and explains again that CASA advocates are not foster care parents. McDaniel explains, though, that you must pass a background check, be 21 years of age, and complete a brief course on how to better help your child in need.
I think, first of all, I want to get rid of the misconception when people hear foster care. They think that we're foster parents and that we take children into our homes, and that's absolutely not what we do. But we're not foster parents. We're ordinary people from everyday walks of life that do something extraordinary, and that's just giving a few hours of our time per month to a child, to help a child, to make sure they're in safe, permanent homes. You don't have to have a degree in law, social services, child welfare. You just have to have a heart for children and want to make a difference. You have to be 21 and you have to be able to pass a background check. And then prior to becoming an official advocate, you go through a 30-hour pre-service training course. And in that class, we teach you about, and I'm actually the trainer as well. So we actually teach you about child welfare laws, just the basics. We talk about domestic violence, mental health and substance abuse, the court system. When we touch on like mental health and substance abuse, it's not because you have to be an expert in that, but we want you to understand this is where our families come from.
McDaniel tells a personal story of her time as an advocate, a way of showing the immense impact that you can have on a child's life.
We are officers of the court and we do make such a huge difference. And, we can be the difference in a child going home and not going home, or I'd rather say being safe and not being safe. I had a situation where and this is one of my cases, and there were 3 children. And we're required to see the child at least once a month in the home environment that they're in, because unfortunately, just because they're in a foster environment does not necessarily mean that they're in a safe foster environment. That they're supposed to be the agency, they're looking after them as well, and they visit them. But then there's CASA, and myself and another CASA staff member and advocate supervisor had gone to do our home visit, and we were unable to get in the home. But we were persistent and we got into the home and unfortunately discovered the situation was not as it should have been. It had gone unnoticed without CASA having stood strong and doing their due diligence to get in the home and find out that the home was in fact not safe for the children. Those children would not be safe today. The children were removed and they are in a safe environment now. That's the difference between having a CASA and not having a CASA.
Find out more about Heartland CASA by visiting maconcountycasa.org. And you can also learn more about them at their Facebook page. As the fall season wraps up for hunting, hunters should always make sure that they have landowner permission. Never assume, says Dan Skinner with the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. The fall archery deer season opened on October 1st in Illinois. The first firearm deer hunting weekend will be later next month. A University of Illinois Extension educator continues to study the issues facing independent grocery stores, specifically in rural areas. John Shadowins has been traveling the state examining said subject. Shadowins hosted an independent grocer summit in Southern Illinois earlier this month at John A. Logan College. This will conclude the second portion of your expanded local news, and it's brought to you by CNB Bank and Trust.
Farming never takes a day off, and neither should your banking. At CNB Bank and Trust, our regular business checking account lets ag businesses run smoothly, and you'll have anytime, anywhere access with digital banking, bill pay, a debit card, e-statements, even QuickBook upload, so you can focus on harvest, not paperwork, helping farmers do what they do best, grow. Stop by your local branch or visit cnbil.com today. CNB Bank and Trust, helping to open doors since 1854. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Moving now to obituaries, which can be found at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com and are brought to you by Sutton Memorial Home.
When it comes to organizing your life, Sutton Memorial Home in Taylorville has some words of advice. Consider pre-planning your funeral. The death of a loved one can be a traumatic event in people's lives, and you can spare your family the burden of planning a funeral when they are grieving. Sutton Memorial Home knows that establishing a pre-arrangement assures that important decisions and your personal selection are made in advance and spares your family an additional burden at their time of loss. Sutton Memorial Home in Taylorville. Caring is what they do best.
82-year-old David L. McMurray of Dacula, Georgia, died on October 15th. At this time, no services will be provided. 83-year-old Karen R. Yazel of Taylorville died on October 21st. Visitation is today, October 27th, from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. at St. Mary's Catholic Church in Taylorville. Funeral service will be October 27th at 11 a.m. at St. Mary's Catholic Church in Taylorville. Burial will be at Oak Hill Cemetery. Funeral arrangements are being handled by McClure Funeral Home and Cremation Services in Taylorville. 75-year-old Robert John Stevens of Taylorville died October 15th. Visitation is November 1st from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Grace Baptist Church in Taylorville. A memorial service will then be on November 1st at 11 a.m. at Grace Baptist Church in Taylorville. Burial will be at Oak Hill Cemetery with military honors. Funeral arrangements are being handled by Sutton Memorial Home in Taylorville. And 85-year-old Walter William Baird of Taylorville died on October 4th. Memorial service will be November 2nd at 2 p.m. at the Taylorville Moose Lodge. Funeral arrangements are being handled by Morand and Goebel Funeral Home in Decatur. Get details on these and other local news stories at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com or hear them every hour on WTIM. WTIM is your only local news radio.